And now, live from Denver, Colorado, this is Before the Chop, the morning show for barbers. Here's your host, David Ford.
Good morning, barbers. You've been eyeing a shop for a couple weeks. You drove past it. The look was right. So you went in, talked to the owner, and the vibe felt solid, so you took the chair. 6 months later, you're doing $800 weeks when you used to do $1,200. And the worst part isn't the money. The worst part is that everything you needed to know was sitting right there in front of you the day you walked in. You just didn't know how to read it. That's the show today. By the time we're done, you're going to be able to walk into any shop and read it cold before you ever sign a thing. And if we haven't met yet, I'm David. Welcome to the best and the only barber morning show on YouTube, Before the Chop. We go live every Monday. We get into the side of barbering that nobody actually teaches you. And if you've got a shop story or a question or a discussion that you want to have right here live on the show, it's mail@beforethechop.com. If you took a chair based on vibes and it went sideways, I'm not here to tell you that you failed. I'm going to tell you that nobody gave you the evaluation criteria. The barbershop industry has never had a real onboarding process. It's always been watch, figure it out, listen, ask around. And that's fine for learning how to cut hair, but it's not fine for making a business decision that's going to shape the next 12 to 24 months of your income. So here's the reframe. Taking a chair at a shop is a business decision, which means you're allowed to treat it like one. You're allowed to ask questions before you commit. You're allowed to walk in twice. You're allowed to take your time. You're not being difficult. You're doing what any person running a business should do before they sign on to a location. Look, you're the one doing the hiring here. The shop needs you just as much as you need the shop, and sometimes more. If you need to keep moving, there's your mindset minute. Last week, we mapped the 3 environments: commission, booth rent, and the suite. Today, you found a couple of shops, you're standing in between them, and you've got to decide. Most barbers make that call based on a feeling. I'm going to show you exactly how to make it on evidence, because a shop can't actually hide what it is as long as you're paying attention. Walk in on the right day and it'll tell you the truth before you ever sign a thing. You just have to be reading the environment instead of just feeling it. So walk in with me. First, pick your day, not a Saturday. Every shop looks alive on a Saturday. Go on a Tuesday. Go around noon. A dead hour on a slow day. That's when a shop stops performing and shows you what it actually is. You step in. Forget the decor for a second. Look at the chairs. Who's in them? A shop with bodies and seats at noon on a Tuesday has built something real, something that runs whether or not the weekend saves it. An empty floor on a Tuesday isn't bad luck. It's information. It means the traffic isn't there. And they'll happily keep cashing your booth rent check while you spend the next 6 months figuring it out. Now sit down and wait. Watch the floor for 10 minutes. Watch how the barbers move around each other. Do they talk? Do they hand a walk-in to whoever's got the open chair, or does everybody guard their own corner? Is there a sort of ease in the room, or is it a silence that isn't peaceful, it's just cold? A shop's culture is visible 10 minutes in, if you know what to watch for. And the barbers in the room will tell you everything the owner won't, because they're not the ones selling you the chair. While you're sitting there, look closer at the stations. Is the equipment maintained? Is the lighting good enough to actually work under? Or are you going to fight a shadow in every fade that you do in this shop? Is there storage, or is it just chaos? The station isn't just decoration. An owner who didn't invest in what you can see usually didn't invest in what you can't. The scheduling, the client flow, how problems get handled when they show up. Then you talk to the owner. And here's what you listen for. Not what they charge, how they talk about money. Can they tell you what a booth renter in their shop actually clears in a week? Can they break their walk-in traffic down day by day? If the answer is it varies with nothing behind it, that's not them being humble. That's a shop that never runs the numbers on its own business, and you'd be renting in space inside of somebody else's guesswork. And then the move that seals the whole thing. Before you ever walked through that door, you did your homework. You read the Google reviews. You drove by at noon. You looked at their Instagram. So now you ask the owner one question you already know the answer to. What's a Saturday traffic like? How's parking when it's busy? When does the shop slow down for the season? If their answer doesn't match what you already saw with your own eyes, they just told you who they are. And that one tell says more about how they'll treat you as a renter than the rest of the conversation put together. None of that was a feeling. Every bit of it was the shop showing you exactly what it is out loud before you signed anything. That's the whole difference. Most barbers walk into a shop asking, "Do I like it here?" The barber who asks walks in asking, "What is this place already telling me?" And then they have the discipline to hear the answer, even when the answer is no. Drop a comment on the video. What is the tell that you caught too late? What is the thing that you wish you'd noticed before you signed on somewhere? I want to know. Let's talk craft for a few minutes because consultations have been something on my mind this week. Here's a moment that happens to dozens of barbers every week in every shop you'll ever work in. The client sits down. They say, "I want to fade." That's not enough information. Most barbers either ask 5 vague questions and feel awkward about it, or they start cutting and they hope that they got it right. A proper consultation fixes this. You assess head shape, growth pattern, density, and then you propose. You don't ask an open question. You make a specific recommendation based on what you actually see. For instance, if a client sits down and they just ask for a fade, that doesn't tell me anything about what the haircut on the top does. So I'm going to ask, what do you do with the top? How long's it been since your last haircut? And when you use this information, you become the authority. You become the barber that knows what you're doing. And the client hears it as confidence, not an interrogation. New clients especially, they don't know what they want. They might know what they hope it looks like. You're the professional in the room. This works in a high volume shop. It works in a walk-in shop. It works in booth rental. It works in a suite. The environment doesn't change this technique. So try this today. Watch what happens to the client's face the moment you propose instead of ask. That shift from hoping to trusting is the whole point. I want to tell you about a barber who didn't just take a chair. He built his own. And where he started is going to put everything we talked about just now into perspective. His name is Josh. He's out of Mission City, Kansas, just outside of Kansas City. Josh was born in the Philippines. His biological parents died when he was really young, and he was split up from his sister. As a kid, he was bouncing between relatives, some days without food. At 6 years old, he was out on the street collecting glass bottles to sell, doing what he had to do to get by. In 2002, his aunt and uncle here in the U.S. adopted him. He started in 3rd grade. And he says the adjustment wasn't just cultural, it was the basics. Running water, a working toilet, air conditioning, things most of us never had to think twice about. That's a hard way to start life. He tried a lot of things after that, a lot of jobs, a lot of fields, and nothing stuck. Until one day he bought a pair of clippers. He sat his dad down in the sunroom and he cut his hair for 2 hours straight. And he said right then, "This is what I want to do." And he didn't look back. He went to school. He got licensed. And then he made a decision that most barbers don't make on the first go around. He didn't just rent a chair. He opened his own space. It's called Deluxe Studios, and it's in Mission, Kansas. And within a year, most of his chairs were full. Josh gives out free haircuts at community events for low-income residents. He passes this advice to younger clients. Try different things. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't let your past cloud your future. He said, "I don't want to be known as just I cut good hair. I want to be known as somebody that motivated people." He didn't just take any chair. He built one. He built his own reality. And right now, there are chairs open at his shop for any barber in that area that needs a shot. So if you know a barber doing work beyond the chair, in your shop, in your city, anywhere, put them in the comments, put them in the live chat. I want to know about them because that's how we find the next spotlight. Barbers pointing us to other barbers, the whole room looking out for each other. All right, let's get into what's happening in the industry this week, because both of these change how you read a shop before you take a chair. First one, the U.S. barbershop industry is now sitting at around $7 billion a year, and it's growing steady, 3 to 5%. So the industry is healthy. That part is real, and it's good news. But here's what matters to you. That growth is pulling in new money and new competition. Franchise chains are opening up multiple locations, private equity buying up shops and running them like a portfolio, mobile barbers with almost no overhead competing on price. The pie is getting bigger, but so is the table, and more chairs are pulling up to it every year. So why does that matter when you're standing in a shop deciding whether to sign? Because the shop you're looking at is a feeling that is feeling the pressure, whether they admit it or not. A shop that's still busy on a slow Tuesday in this market has something real, something that's holding up while the competition crowds in around it. A shop that's quiet has nowhere to hide anymore. 5 years ago, a mediocre location could coast on being the only option in the neighborhood. Those days are over. So, when you read a shop now, you're not just reading the shop. You're reading whether it can survive what's coming for it. Second story, and this one's a real shift. The way people book has flipped entirely. A large and growing majority of barbershop appointments are made online now. And this probably comes as no surprise to you, but one report actually puts it as high as 3 out of 4 appointments. People aren't calling, and a lot of them aren't walking in off the street either. They're booking at 10 o'clock at night from the couch, going with whoever's got an easy booking link and an open slot. And shops are adding deposits to cut down on no-shows. So when you're sizing up a shop, this goes straight on your list. Ask the owner how they handle booking. What platform are they on? Can a client book after hours or only when the shop's open? Do they take a deposit? How do they handle cancellations? A shop still running mostly on walk-ins in 2026 isn't automatically behind. Some high-volume traditional barbershops do it beautifully, but you need to know what kind of shop you're walking into because it tells you exactly how predictable your income is going to be week to week. And the owner who can't give you a straight answer on any of it just told you something too. Put those two together and you've got the whole picture. The market's getting more crowded. The clients have moved online. The shop that's going to grow your career is the one that already knows both these things and is built around them. Those are two of the things you look for when you actually walk in. Remember the barber from the top of the show? The one doing $800 weeks in a shop he picked on a feeling? Everything he needed to know was in front of him the day he walked in. He just never learned to look. That's the whole thing. A shop can't hide what it is. Walk in on a slow Tuesday. Watch the floor. Talk real numbers. And check what they tell you against what you saw with your own eyes. Do that, and you'll never take a chair blind again. If you know someone who's eyeing a shop right now, send them this episode. It's a conversation I wish someone had walked me through. Then come back next Monday, 11:30 Mountain, 1:30 Eastern, because we flip the whole thing around. You stop sizing up shops and turn the lens on your own chair. What is a single client actually worth to you across all the years they sit in it? Most barbers have never run that number. We're going to run it together. Subscribe so it's there when it drops. I'm David Ford. This is Before the Chop. Go, get behind the chair, chop some hair, and go crush it.